out with everybody else. So once again, welcome to the first live training session for Fitness for Life. My name is Darin Nolan, and I'm going to go through a little bit about myself to get started and my background. And then I'm going to go and talk about a few topics that have come up in our Fitness for Life classes that I've noticed some people have struggled with, and just some other pieces that I think are important for us to know as we move along. So a little bit about where I'm at. This is where I live, right up here in the corner of the United States, in the upper northwest corner called Lynden, Washington, and I'm literally about 2 miles from the Canadian border. And so I can see we're kind of all over the map here of where everybody lives. So we're on the Pacific time zone over here. A lot of smoke in our area right now. We got a lot of wildfires in the area, so it's really hazy and warm down over here in Lynden, Washington. So I'm about 2 hours north of Seattle, Washington. A little bit about my background, where I got my education from. I went to Washington State University. I played baseball there. I was a pitcher, and I got my education degree there. I got my degree in physical education, and my supporting endorsement was health education. And then I got drafted by the Toronto Blue Jays in 1991. I played a couple years in their minor league system, got a chance to experience a little bit of minor league baseball. And then I got my first teaching job in 1994 at a junior high school in Bothell, Washington, which is kind of the suburbs of Seattle. And there I taught for 6 years PE, health, and math. And whoops, let me go back a step. And then I've been teaching at another high school, actually, brick and mortar, Bellingham High School, since 2000. So I've been there for 18 years teaching PE, health, and I also teach online health for my school district. Prior to being hired at Graduation Alliance, which I got hired last August, I taught for a company called K-12. It's a nationwide online school program also. So I taught there from 2009 to 2017 as a fitness and health online instructor. So I've been teaching online as a supplement to working in a brick and mortar for about 9 years now. And I really enjoy the opportunity to connect with people like you all over the country, and also just something to do in my free time to continue educating. And some awards that I got recently that I'm kind of proud of, I guess. I got the Washington State Health Educator of the Year Award in 2016, and then the following year I received an American School Health Association National Health Educator of the Year Award, and I got to go back to St. Louis, Missouri and receive that award, which was a fun event. So that's a little bit about my background. This is my family, my wife Kelly, and I have a son, Nick, who's going to be a junior at Gonzaga University. He plays on the golf team there. And this is my other son, Zach. He'll be a sophomore at Western Washington University, which is just south of Lynden, where I live, in the town Bellingham, Washington, where my brick and mortar school is. So that's my family. So enough about me. Let's start talking a little bit about our Fitness for Life class. So first of all, let's talk about fitness components. I think it's important that if you're focusing on your fitness, that any kind of fitness program needs to be tied around the 5 components of fitness. So either using the chat box, or if you want to use your mic, can anybody tell me one or more of the 5 components of fitness? So if you're going to create a fitness program, what are the 5 areas that it needs to be built around? Does anybody know that one? You can use the chat box also if you don't want to use your mic. There's 5 components of fitness. So time is part of the FIT principle. Frequency, Intensity, yeah, that's part of the FIT principle. So let's talk more about, I'll give you the first one. The first one is cardiovascular endurance. So when you do a fitness program, you want to have some portion of your program needs to be geared around cardiovascular endurance. Maybe that'll help. Can you think of other areas that you would focus on when creating a fitness program? Give you about another 30 seconds to brainstorm. All right. So here are the 5 components of fitness. So when creating a fitness program, you want to gear it around cardiovascular endurance. So some examples of that are doing some type of running, aerobics, swimming, sport where you maintain almost constant motion. So something to get your heart rate up for a long period of time. And then it's important to incorporate some type of muscular strength. So that could be some kind of weightlifting. You could be doing some calisthenics, doing some push-ups and sit-ups. Some muscular endurance would be maybe using some ankle weights, wrist, light-handed weights for a longer amount of time. So one thing about muscular strength is what kind of the max that you can do when you're working on muscular strength. So how much weight can you lift would be geared around that. So checking your muscular strength. And then muscular endurance is how long can you do an activity for? So working on not just only being able to lift a weight a few times, but can you do it successively many a time? And then flexibility, it's always important to have some form of flexibility as part of your program. Who can tell me when the best time is to do static stretching, which is like, for instance, where if I'm just going to pull my arm across, stretch this way, or behind my head this way. Is it before a workout or after a workout is static stretching best? You can put your answer in the
before.
Before, okay, thanks, Charles. So before, depending on what activity that you are doing, if you're lifting weights, oftentimes after you do a workout, your muscles are going to be more warmed up, and they're going to be more elastic, I guess is the word for it. So they stretch a little bit better, but some easy stretching is good before an activity, and then really you can get into some deeper stretching once your body is warmed up and you've broken a sweat in essence. For instance, at my brick and mortar school, what my students do, I teach a strength interval training class, which is kind of like CrossFit. And so we jog 5 minutes, and then after the 5-minute jog, they've kind of got their heart rate up, body's loosened up, and then we go through what's called a dynamic warm-up, which is doing like lunges, high knees, skips, things like that to get ready to go into the weight room and work out. And then lastly is to monitor your body composition, and which is basically the percentage of your lean body mass to fat. One thing that's really throws people off, I think, is when we go to the doctor's office, what they do is they give us our BMI, which is your body mass index. And all that is a ratio of your height to your weight based on some information that doctors have come up with. What it doesn't take into consideration is muscle mass, because muscle is more dense than fat. So you could have an individual that is very muscular that, according to a BMI, they could be very obese just because they're just more dense. So that can throw people off. So I'm not a huge proponent of BMI, but body composition, if you can ever find out what your body fat is, that's an important component of a fitness program. Okay, so cardiovascular endurance. So a few of you brought up Ashley brought up intensity, frequency. So that's part of the FIT principle. And basically, when we're creating programs, the frequency, intensity, time, and type, you want to gear your program around that acronym of FIT. So how often you should do it, how hard you should do it, for how long, and then what the activity is. So kind of the general prescription is to try to do some cardiovascular endurance 3 to 6 times per week. Muscular strength, It's important with muscular strength. 2 to 3 times a week is good, but you want to also have a break in between. So let's say you went and did some weight training. You'd want to have a day off, and so your muscles have time to recuperate. So kind of every other day is a good method of doing a weight training program. And then flexibility can basically be done daily. I tried for the first time hot yoga last year, and man, I'm not a real flexible person, but hot yoga is awesome. Your body's really loosened up, and I found that it really helped me to get more stretched out. Excuse me. So here's just kind of a body composition of what the recommendations are for body fat, but many people don't have the means or the accessibility to find your body fat. So that's why the height to weight body mass index is used quite often to give people kind of an idea of where their fitness level is. But you got to kind of take that with a grain of salt, is what I believe. All right, so I found this cool little video that just kind of explains what are some of the benefits of exercise. I'm going to run this for you.
Why physical exercise is vital for a healthy brain and body. Physical fitness through exercise is one of the most common pieces of advice offered by medics across the planet. There are many benefits of exercise when done correctly. Some of the most common include improved blood flow, general body fitness, weight loss, and stress relief. This video seeks to focus on some of the direct benefits of exercise on the brain and the body. So, exercise and the brain. Well, according to an article published by the Harvard Health blog, exercise helps the brain both directly and indirectly. Physical activity reduces insulin resistance, inflammation, and stimulates the release of growth factors in the brain that affects the growth of new blood cells. These growth factors also encourage the abundance and survival of new blood cells, keeping the brain healthy. Indirectly, it improves brain activity, which also improves mood and sleep and reduces stress and anxiety problems. So physical exercise.
See if I can scoot ahead here.
A significant decrease in the amygdala after yoga and meditation. The amygdala is part of the brain that is implicated in processing stress, fear, and anxiety. Number 4, slowing cognitive decline. Physical exercise delays the onset of mental wear and tear and dementia, especially among the elderly. It pays to exercise early in life to avoid mental illnesses that come with old age. A study published on the neurology suggested that women who are physically fit in their middle ages were 88% less likely to develop dementia than their peers who were only moderately fit. 5. Physical fitness and weight loss. A study published in the Indiana Journal of Endocrinology and Metabolism showed that an active exercise training program was ideal for reducing weight and improving physical fitness among obese children. The effects were possible even without a change in dietary composition. Number 6. Protection of the body against age-related decline. According to a study published in the Journal of Aging Research, it suggests that physical activity maintained throughout life is accompanied with a lower risk of developing chronic conditions such as cancer, diabetes, cardiovascular, and coronary heart diseases associated with chronological aging. Number 7. Improved heart and lung health. When done on a regular basis, physical activity, both moderately and intense, lowers the risk of developing coronary heart disease. Regular exercise strengthens the heart muscle and its ability to pump blood to the lungs and the rest of the body. The lungs automatically pick up the pace to keep up with the exercise and therefore become stronger as well. Number 8. It increases lean mass and strength. High-frequency training and low-frequency training both contribute to improvements in lean mass and strength in men and women. Strength training also helps alterations in metabolism, increase in bone density, reduce the risk of injury, and even rebuild lost muscle. The buildup of muscle is necessary for preventing a resting metabolic rate that causes obesity. High-frequency training and low-frequency training both contribute to improvements in lean mass and strength in both men and women. Number 9. Improved cholesterol levels. Regular physical activity and exercise are effective in lowering cholesterol levels in the blood and thus preventing the onset of coronary heart disease, heart attacks, and strokes. Clinicians recommend aerobic training or resistance training to ensure that healthy cholesterol levels are achieved. Number 10. Prevention and management of diabetes. Regular exercise can help delay or prevent the development of type 2 diabetes by 60%. Daily physical activity, aerobic training, or resistance training prevents sugar buildup in the blood. Insulin sensitivity increases and the body can take up glucose during and after activity. Any form of physical activity that helps the body burn calories, e.g. walking, cleaning, running, sports, is beneficial and should be included in daily routines. So in conclusion, daily physical activity and a variety of exercises have significant improvements on the brain and the body among children, adults, and the elderly. Therefore, it is important to include regular exercise in our daily routines to maintain a healthy body and also to prevent lifestyle diseases.
All right. So lots of great benefits, as we know. I think one of the biggest issues with exercise is finding time, right? I know for my own personal health, teaching online when I was at the school previous to Graduation Alliance, I was tied to my computer a lot. We were required to do a lot of teaching, and I found myself sitting more than anything. So I'm thankful for Graduation Alliance that we don't do a lot of live teaching, and it makes me sit at my computer. But I kind of neglected my own health for about 5 years, and just moved into a townhouse that has a fitness center next to it, and I've kind of taken on trying to get myself more healthy, be a good role model for my students that I teach. So, but I know how it is as adults finding that time. I always had the excuse that I'm too busy, I'm tired, this and that, and it was just finally had to make a decision that I need to motivate myself and get it done. So. Okay, so we're going to talk about target heart rate zone. This is one of the assignments in semester 1 class. I believe it's assignment 5.2.1 that some students have had difficulty with, and I don't know if it's the wording or just how to calculate target heart rate. And so I want to talk a little bit about why is it important to figure out your target heart rate zone, and what is target heart rate. So if you know what target heart rate zone is, you can use your mic or put it in the chat box. How would you explain to somebody if they asked you, what is target heart rate zone? What does that mean? Anybody want to share what their thoughts are on how you would explain that to somebody that had no idea what target heart rate zone is, how you could explain that best? You can use the chat box, or you can unmute yourself if you'd like. How many of you have already done this assignment? Is there anybody here that has already done it? If you've already,
I have.
okay. All right, so let's. I'm going to go through and talk a little bit about the target heart rate. So basically, the definition is it's a zone in which your heart and body are making the most gains from your exercise without being overexerted. And there's 5 target heart rate zones that people can work out in. And some of the new devices, I have this Garmin watch that I work out with, and it's interesting that they're color coded the different zones, so I can tell when I'm working out what zone I'm in just visually looking at my watch. There's a lot of different technologies out there to help people try to stay in their training zone. So it all depends on what you want from your workout. And so we've got the warm-up zone, which is the lower end, and then the fat burning. So if your goal is to burn fat, there's a certain zone that you want to be working out in that your body most efficiently will burn fat. And then you have your aerobic zone, which is if you're trying to increase your cardiovascular endurance. Anaerobic zone would be somebody like a sprinter that's going to do an activity where it's really short-lived, go as hard as you can. And then red line would be like elite athletes that are training to really maximize their conditioning. So in the assignment that is in semester 1, it's in also the quarter 1, 2, 3, I believe, courses also. But the first thing it asks you to do is to find out what your pulse is. And interesting enough, the assignment doesn't incorporate the pulse, which there is a formula that can be used called the Carbonin formula, where it takes into consideration your resting heart rate or your pulse, and then it factors that into the formula of finding your target heart rate. But anyhow, to find your pulse, you can find it on the carotid artery on either side of your neck. You just take 2 fingers and you can find it there, or the radial side, which is the thumb side of your wrist, which is this picture right here. And basically you're going to just feel for the pulse right there, and then you're going to count. So the heart rate is the number of times your heart beats in a minute. So you can figure it out by, once you find your pulse, you can begin by timing yourself for 1 minute, or you could go for 10 seconds and multiply by 6, or 6 seconds multiplied by 10. So that's how you can, the most accurate way is to do your pulse for 1 complete minute. And to find your most accurate heart rate would be to do it first thing when you wake up in the morning. That's your most accurate resting heart rate is when you get up in the morning. Welcome, Hunter. All right. So a couple other terms when we're figuring out target heart rate is resting heart rate, as I just mentioned, would best to be found when you wake up in the morning. Number of times your heart pumps in 1 minute when your body's at rest. Your maximum heart rate is the maximum number of times your heart can pump in 1 minute, and that's according to a formula of taking the number 220 and subtracting your age, which we'll cover in just a moment. And then your target heart rate, therefore, is the zone that you plan to work out in. So for the assignment, one of the first questions in the assignment asks you to find out your max heart rate. So in order to do that, all you have to do is subtract your age from the number 220, and this gives you your max heart rate. So supposedly, this is the maximum amount of times that your heart should be able to beat in 1 minute. I don't know the history behind why they came up with 220, to be honest with you. Maybe some of you know that. But that's the formula that we use to find maximum heart rate. And then all you have to do to find your target heart rate zone then is you figure out what zone you want to work out in, and you're going to take this number and multiply it by 65% to get the low end. So you want to get your heart rate up to that level minimum, and then the high end would be the 90%. So I've got a example from the assignment right here. So I used myself for this assignment. So this again is assignment 5.2.1 in Fit for Life semester 1. And so what I do to find my max heart rate is I subtract my age, which I'm 49 years old, from 220. So that gives me a max heart rate of 171. And then to find the threshold ceiling, which is the lower end of your target heart rate, you're going to take this number and multiply it by 0.65, which is 65%. So my threshold, which means that's where I want to get my heart rate up to, the minimum would be 111 beats per minute. And then to find the ceiling, which is the maximum I want my heart rate to get during a workout, I would take my max heart rate and multiply that by 0.9. And then it gives you basically your target heart rate zone then is, I would want to exercise keeping my heart rate between 111 and 153 beats per minute if I were staying in a 65 to 90%. And that's kind of a general target heart rate zone that people work out in. Could be 60 to 90, could be 60 to 80. For the sake of the assignment that you have to do, it's 65 to 90. Anybody have any questions about that?
I don't want to interrupt you.
Yeah.
It says math. I'm probably late for it. This isn't Algebra 2 Segment 3, is it?
No, this is Fitness for Life.
My apologies.
No worries, Hunter.
You guys have a wonderful night and
All right, bud.
stay healthy.
Hey, Hunter, real quick. There is a math session on Thursday. So if you check out your dashboard, there'll be a pop-up announcement there.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you can always hang out too. More the merrier, right?
I mean, why not? I mean, fitness in the morning anyway, so I might as well see something.
There you go.
Good for you. Okay, so the training zones, as I mentioned too earlier, you got the warm-up zones. So basically, as you're getting warmed up, you want to try to get your heart rate into the 50 to 60%. And then if you're focusing on wanting to burn fat, you're going to want to want to exercise at a little lower level. That's what we call the fat burning zone. So try to exercise in the 60 to 70% of your max heart rate. And then again, the aerobic zone, anaerobic, and then the limit or the red zone. Most of us aren't going to be working out in that zone. That's a higher end elite athlete type target heart rate zone. All right, so I'm going to skip through these. We've talked about that. So yeah, the red line. So most people should aim to stay within the fat burning and the aerobic zone. So that's that 60 to 90, 60 to 80 zone. All right, so any questions about target heart rate before the last thing I want to talk about is how to complete discussion posts. We're doing all right? All right, we got it's about 5:56 my time right now. Try to be done here in about 5 minutes. Okay, so discussion posts, these are fairly new. For the last couple months, we started adding these to all classes. And I've just noticed in Fitness for Life, there are several new students who have struggled. It may not be you folks that are here with me tonight, but I wanted to go over a document that our coaches put together on how to make a post. And I've been using this as a link in my fitness classes when students are not responding correctly. I've been putting this document in there so that everybody understands how to do these. So I'm gonna go to the actual document. Okay. So for instance, the do's and the don'ts. So you want to follow the directions, look at the rubric. There's a rubric for all of the discussion questions. Proofread. You're going to want to comment on a peer's post. I think that's the one that people make the most mistake of. I get a lot of my students who will post an answer to the discussion, but then they don't go respond to another student. And it's a two-part assignment where you need to post your own response, and then you need to go respond to another student. So moving down the line here. So to make a post, you would have the prompt, and then you would click new thread, and then you're going to get a text box that comes up, and this is where you would put your answer to the discussion question. And you want to make sure you look at the rubric that goes along with the discussion question that you're attempting to answer. And then once you're good with that, some students also have taken files. They've like a Word document or a Google Doc, and they've answered the discussion question, and then they will upload that. So that's another option. You can choose file and upload the document, or you can just type right here in the text box. And then once you're ready to go to respond, you click post, and your response would show up. In the second part, so you click post, then what you need to do is you need to go respond to another student. So you're going to look at what other students in the class have responded to that same discussion question. And so to do that, you would find one that you want to respond to, and you're going to click this little box right up here in the corner.
Yeah, well, nobody's going to know anything. You have to learn it. There's no better way to learn how to do something than to actually do it. Each of them share the truth.
There we go, a little static. So you're going to click reply here and then respond to another student to get full credit. And again, you can look at the rubric, which will tell you what you need to do in order to get full points in a discussion response. So that's just kind of a quick little to-do on how to answer discussion questions. Anybody have any questions on that? All right. Well, that comes to the end of my presentation. Are there any other questions that people have that I can address about Fitness for Life or Graduation Alliance or anything in general? I appreciate you taking the time to hang out with me. I'll be doing this every 2 weeks. So every other week at 5:30 p.m. Pacific time, I'll be doing a new lesson. So you're welcome to join me if you'd like. You should get emails with the link, like you got to show up today to attend. Also, you can email me at darin.nolan@graduationalliance.com or send a chat message, however you'd like to communicate. My cell phone number is on the syllabus, so you can call me, text me. I head back to my brick and mortar school. We start school on August 29th. So once I get back to my brick and mortar, I'll be able to answer questions after school. My school day is, my brick and mortar is 8:30 to 3:15. We're on an 8-period schedule now. So we go 4 periods one day, 4 periods the next. It's been an interesting change from last year. All right, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.